Oh well, thanks for joining. I hope you're doing well. Me personally, I feel like shit, look like shit. I don't know why I'm doing a video, but I'm going to do a video because I feel like it's a really good time to do one, because we're now getting to that point of the PDC World Darts Championship where we are down to the final weight, and I kind of wanted to talk through both sides of it. I want to kind of talk through, obviously, what we could expect to happen in the next few days going into 2025 and who might become, well, basically the new world champion at this point. But also I wanted to go back a little bit and kind of talk through some of the things that have happened in the previous, how many days we've been now? Well, it's got to be 15 days, 16 days of darts effectively. Just talk through some of that really as well. This is a good opportunity because there's so many games to watch and go through, and there's such little time to talk about any of kind of what's gone on before that, we just don't get the opportunity. So I thought I'd do a little video, just kind of talk through some of that. So let's go back a little bit. What have we learned, I think, is the important thing to look at this championship. What have we learned so far? I think for me, one of the main learning points is that there is no easy game anymore in this tournament. It really isn't. Years gone by, you would get players that would come from far and wide, and it would be a first round sort of game that would be a complete gimme to the seeded players, and they would have no problem. They'll win their first game, and then they're pretty much there for what is basically, it's like another tournament after Christmas. Them days seem to be long gone. We have got plenty of players across the globe that are very, very capable of beating anyone on their day, and they can catch some of these seeded players really cold, or they can catch them when they're feeling their most nervous and their most vulnerable, because ultimately the players, they just want to get through to after Christmas. They don't really care how well they potentially play. I don't think in that second round game that they would play, that it's all about qualifying, and we just found that happened time and time again through these early rounds, these second and third round. I mean, look, the biggest surprise for me in the early rounds was Gary Anderson being knocked out. I did not expect that, but fair play to Jeffrey de Graaf, who, to be honest with you, had his own wobble in his first round game. He was the overwhelming favourite to beat Rashad Sweeten from the Bahamas. Could have found himself 2 sets down at one point, managed to just about cling on to make it 1-1, and it kind of changed the course of the game, I felt, a little bit for him. But since that moment, he had been absolutely brilliant, and he took his opportunity. He beat Gary Anderson, not only beat him 3-0. So yeah, like, we had players where I thought, well, look, personally, I thought Anderson might have won his quarter even, but didn't even get out of the second round. And there's other players that fell into that trap, the likes of Ross Smith, who was actually in that side of the draw, or that even section of the draw rather. You had Mike Dedeco, like another player that was really well fancied to go well in this tournament. Again, falls early doors in this tournament. Raymond van Barneveld, another player that went. James Wade, another one. Like, these are big names. Rob Cross went out in the second round. Gian Van Veen, he still hasn't won a game at the World Championships. I think that's something to maybe factor in maybe next year. I know we expect big things from Van Veen into 2025, but the thing is, if you can't get a win at the Ali Pali stage, that's going to play on your mind, and like, you have to factor these things maybe potentially for next year. So there was some big names that went out, but let's go into kind of the different quarters of the draw briefly for a moment. Look, there was the top quarter of the draw, which had Luke Humphries in it, and I think, like myself and most people expected, Luke Humphries would be the one that would win that quarter. He didn't. He ended up, look, he come up against a really tough opponent. Pardon me, God, I'm dying, as you can tell. It came up against Peter Wright, who again was another surprise. I think most of us expected Peter Wright not to be the Peter Wright we're seeing. We kind of, with Peter Wright at the moment, you're either going to get someone who's averaging about 80 or someone who's averaging about 105, and it kind of flip-flops between the two. This tournament, he's Peter Wright of old. He's the Peter Wright. He's very similar to the Peter Wright that's won 2 world championships. And at the end of the day, Peter Wright was the better player. Not that Luke Humphries played badly, actually, in truth, but look, Peter Wright's through. We've also got Stephen Bunting, who's in that, well, he's reached the quarterfinals in that quarter to play Peter Wright. And I don't think Stephen Bunting was too much of a surprise. In truth, I mean, look, Mike De Decker was in that section, as was Damon Heta. There was some dangerous players, obviously, like Luke Woodhouse and Connor Scott, who come through the first round. Part of that draw, dangerous opponents in that little section. But I think Stephen Bunting, on reflection, shouldn't be too much of a surprise. He's probably, arguably, one of the most consistent top performers on the PDC circuit, or in world darts in particular. He's always performing. He's always at a very high level, and I think he's got a really, really good opportunity, I think, to make it to the semi-finals. I'm not going to make my predictions now, by the way. I'm going to do separate videos for each game, by the way, so please look out for them, especially in the short section that I do. But I won't go into what I think is going to happen. But what I will say is I think Stephen Bunting deserves his opportunity in the quarterfinals, and I think he's got a good draw against Peter Wright, who is playing very well. I think it will be a fantastic game. Don't get me wrong. I think it will be, could be quite close. But I think Stephen Bunting has. It's not a surprise for me that he's there. And then we go kind of down into the second part of that. Well, the second quarter, should we say, if that's the right way to call it, the Luke Littler quarter. Now, we all expected Luke Littler to get through, and he has got through to the quarterfinals. He's not done it completely easy. Ian White gave him a hell of a game early doors in round 2, and then in the next round, effectively, again, Ryan Joyce was absolutely, like, he was brilliant. Ryan Joyce really showed that he's a top class player. Should easily be in the top 32 in the world for me. I always felt he should have been. Like, I don't quite know how he's never really kind of pushed himself into that top 32. In fact, I think he's good enough to be a top 16 player, maybe even a top 10 player, right? Who knows? I mean, guys, what do you think on that one? But I think Joyce is as good as that. I really do. And he pushed Littler all the way. And look, Littler's, I don't think it's going to do Luke Littler any harm whatsoever being tested in these early rounds. In fact, I think it will give him a bit of sharpness going into the quarterfinal, potentially going into the semi-final and beyond, potentially, right? Because I think you need these challenges, and if you can get through them challenges, it puts you in good stead when it comes to the big matches. Because ultimately, I think if you breeze through these rounds, I think there's going to be an element of complacency may creep in just slightly a little bit more easily. So I think it's not been a bad thing for Littler, and obviously he's going to go on to play Nathan Aspinall, who I think might have been a bit of a surprise actually to get to the quarterfinals. I mean, look, Aspinall's a big name player in darts, but he's not a player that's played particularly well in 2024. He's had his problems with his action. Like, you can tell he's still struggling a little bit to release the dart at times, but he's done a cracking job of getting where he's got to. Like, he got a win, obviously a good win against Andrew Gilding in the round before last. A brilliant win, I thought, against Petrescu, who I actually thought could beat Aspinall in that. Petrescu was very disappointing. Did not turn up, I don't think, in the slightest. But Aspinall got the job done in the end. And he could be another gritty performer against Littler, where I think if you look at Joyce and you look at Ian White, how they performed, I think the key is you've got to just not worry about it's Luke Littler and just try and play your best darts and see what you can do. See if you can push Littler into mistakes. Because I think the mistakes that Littler makes, or what the bits that kind of make you concerned if you were a Littler backer at the beginning of this tournament, is his doubling. I just don't think it's at where you expect Littler to be at. His scoring is still fantastic. He's hitting 180s for fun. And obviously, if he gets to the final, Littler, he's bound to have the most 180s, because I don't think anyone will be anywhere close to him on that. He's still hitting like a 180 every, I think, bar one set he's played. I think he's hit at least 180 in every set he's played in this tournament, which is phenomenal. So his scoring is brilliant, but is his doubling where he thinks it should be? I personally don't think it is. So if Aspinall could just keep up with the scoring levels with Littler to some degree and just maybe finish off some chances, I think he can run a close game there. Again, I'm not going to make a prediction. But as I say, I think overall, Littler in that quarter, not surprised. Aspinall, a bit of a surprise. I think, look, in fact, the players that I felt probably could have maybe got there instead of Aspinall went out really early. The likes of Rob Cross, the likes of Jan van Veen, who I thought were probably the more likely players to get to the quarterfinals. And then they went out, and then you got the likes of Scott Williams, who I thought, well, he's got to be the player of that quarter at the moment, barring Luke Littler to maybe get, and then he gets knocked out. So there's been a couple of surprises, I think, in there. But in overall, I think Aspinall versus Littler could be a really good game and a really good quarterfinal match to watch tomorrow on New Year's Day. Then let's go to the third quarter, which is kind of the top right quarter, the way I look at it in terms of the brackets. And this is the Gerwyn Price Chris Dobey bracket. Now, this is probably the one quarter in general where I've not been totally surprised with the outcomes here. I had a good feeling for Gerwyn Price at the start of the tournament that I think he's got a really good draw that he could capitalise on. He just needs to get that first win. And at the time, it was against Keane Barry. And I thought if he can get that first win against Keane Barry, I think he can grow into the tournament. And I think he has done. I think he's been really, really good, Gerwyn Price. And I think he's still one of the best players in the world. And he's certainly a man that could beat anyone that's left in this tournament for me. But he's got a really tough opponent in Chris Dobey, who doesn't surprise me he's there. But I think I overlooked him slightly at the beginning of the tournament. I really thought Michael Smith had the draw to capitalise on, but he never took advantage of it. He went out early doors to Kevin Dotes, and Kevin, to be fair to him, he's played phenomenal darts, and he's a little bit unlucky maybe potentially that he didn't make it to the quarterfinals himself in the end against Chris Dobey. But Dobey, I think, has been excellent, and I think Dobey versus Price, for me, is the best game in the quarterfinals, and it's the one to watch out. I think it could have everything. I think there could be plenty of 180s. I think there'll be high checkouts. I would not be totally shocked if there was a 9-darter in that game. There we are. I really wouldn't. I think that is easily the best quarterfinal game that we'll get to see tomorrow. So, yeah, I'm not surprised with what's happened in that quarter. Let's go back a few players in there. I mean, look, yeah, as I say, Marcus Smith disappointing. I think his chances now of a Premier League return is probably not there. That's probably something for another time, another video to talk about. But I think Marcus Smith, we'll see that as a disappointing opportunity. Josh Rock, he played really well against Chris Dobey. Someone had to lose. It was Josh in the end, but I think he can hold his head high that he's got opportunities down the line in the future, I think, in this tournament. I thought Johnny Clayton had a decent tournament himself. Good win against Daryl Gurney. Ran Gerwyn Price close. I don't think he can have too many complaints, but he'll be disappointed he didn't get to the quarterfinals, obviously. But I think he played well, and I think he showed himself that he's that decent. And the same with Joe Cullen. Joe Cullen was another one who, got written off at the beginning of the tournament. He even showed that himself, and he's disappointed of people writing him off. But he was obviously brilliant in his first game, his second round game, where he played Wessel Neiman, who was someone who everyone fancied, I think, to really go through into that quarter. Me personally, I wasn't sure. I've got to be honest. I was. You'll see it in my video if you want to go look back. I wasn't convinced by Neiman being there. I always thought Gerwyn Price was the one. But I think Cullen's another one who can show that he's got a bit of fight in him still, and I think he could still have a big 2025 going forward. So yeah, to round up that third quarter, look, I'm not overly surprised. I think that's the quarter. I'm not surprised by that lineup of Dobey and Gerwyn Price, but I think it'll be a good one nonetheless. And then on the final quarter, which there's been a few upsets in this one, but I think Michael van Gerwen being there isn't a massive surprise. As I said, he's another one who had a decent draw. James Hurrell in the second round, Brendan Dolan in the third. Like, it was being teed up nicely for him to maybe potentially play one of Gary Anderson or Ross Smith. But luckily for him, well, whether you want to look at it, he managed to play Jeffrey de Graaf, who no one expected to come through. And obviously, Paolo de Breda beat Ross Smith as well. So he's had a really nice draw, Michael van Gerwen, I think. And he's given himself an opportunity to play himself into the tournament. But he's going up against someone who I don't think many expected to get this far in this tournament. But he has been a player in the past that has shown promise, shown talent, shown he's capable of playing some exceptional darts. and that is, of course, Callum Ritz, who, for me, he's probably been the player of the tournament. I'm going to say it now. I think he's been the best player of the tournament. I think he's been absolutely exceptional, and I think he's got a real good chance of getting to the semi-final here. I really do. I think it'll be another close game between him and Michael van Gerwen. I don't think MVG runs away with it. I think it could be a real nip and tuck game. Could go anywhere between 7 and 9 sets, I think, potentially. Obviously, being the first to 5. I think it could be close, but I think Ritz is playing well enough that I think he'll fancy his chances against Michael van Gerwen. But yeah, he's obviously been a surprise. But I felt like that part of the draw, there was an opportunity for someone to come through. And obviously, there was the likes of Dave Chisnell, Dimitri van den Berg, Gabriel Clements, all in that quarter. Obviously, Ricky Evans. I had a little bit of a suspicion that he could go and have a good run, which I think he had a decent enough run in there. But Callum Ritz is taking his opportunity, but he's not just taking his opportunity, he's been playing exceptional darts, been playing brilliantly, and I think he's definitely well worth his place in the quarterfinals. So look, it's been overall, it's been an interesting tournament. It's not gone exactly how maybe I and many have expected. As I said, plenty of upsets early doors, but I think now we've got a proper quarterfinal on our hands where I think, like, these are 4 really good games, and I think they're all good for different reasons. As I said, I think Stephen Bunting versus Peter Wright, 2 seasoned pros on the PDC circuit, going head-to-head against one another. I hope we see the best of both. I really think if we see the best of both, I think we can see one heck of a game that could go all the way. You've got Luke Littler versus Nathan Aspinall, who are good pals. They know each other well. Pretty sure they're under the same management as well. I think that could be good as well. I think Aspinall is the type to maybe grit it out against Littler, cause some problems, maybe get him under pressure a bit more, because he has been put under pressure, Littler, but he's managed to come through it in the end, and no more so than when he played against Ryan Joyce in the last round. I think Aspinall is the type of player that could push Littler. Then you've got Dobey versus Price. For me, as I said, I think that will be the game of the round. I just can't see that being a bad game at all. I think there'll be plenty of 180s in between these two. Could see a 9-darter, could see everything. And I think it's a real tough one to call, actually. Probably the toughest game to call out of the 4 games. And then you've got MVG looking to get, a 4th world title against an up-and-coming player in Ritz, who I think has shown that he's now shown his promise and his potential and his talent, because I think he's been the best player so far of this tournament for me, other than, you may argue, Luke Littler's probably been technically better. But I think Ritz has been the player of the tournament for me in terms of his performances and how he's managed to play his games and manage through his games and dominate at the right times as well. And I think he'll give MVG a great game. But look, guys, in the comments, please let me know what your thoughts are. As I said, I will be doing some short videos of my predictions for each game. Or should I do them now? Shall I quickly do them now? No, I'm going to do them in the shorts. So please look out for them videos. Also, just to round up, look, if you are watching this, you like kind of me talking gibberish about darts, but actually not just darts. I will be talking a lot about other sports as well. Look, I know people come here and think, oh, this is a darts channel, and there will be darts content, because I will continue to do darts content through 2025, through with the Premier League and all the big major tournaments that go on throughout the year. But I'll also be talking about other sports. So look, I love talking about football. I love talking about American football, golf. Like, there's so many sports that I love to chat about, and I'll be doing loads of content around. So if you like any of that, then it's well worth subscribing. If you don't, no hard feelings, of course, but you know, you might like some of it, you just don't know. But I'll be doing loads of stuff around it, so please subscribe to the channel. Watch out for all that different content that's going to come out. And look, depending on when you're watching this, I mean, I'm recording this on New Year's Eve. I wish you all a happy New Year. I hope you have a great 2025 ahead of you, and keep out watching videos of me, basically, because there's going to be some big stuff in 2025 that I'm looking forward to sharing with you guys. And enjoy the darts on New Year's Day. It's going to be a cracker. And as I said, look out for my videos and my predictions on all of the games from the quarterfinals into the semi-finals into the final, which is on the 3rd of January. And enjoy, and I'll speak with you soon.